Parish now. Not quite over to our eastern spots around Lacombe and Slidell, but this is the little area with very heavy rain. Of course, tons of people around here, so you may have heard your phone go off and turning on your TV. This is the spot in this red shaded area where the tornado warning is ongoing until 4:45, another 20 minutes or so. And then we have a new severe thunderstorm warning again farther south. Let me get to our hail tracker as well so you can see what we have as far as hail goes. The tornado warning, of course, is our biggest concern over Madisonville and Covington. We also are looking at the potential for some high wind gusts, especially with our south of the lake spots, and then also with those storms moving in now to our North Shore areas. And indeed, around Luling, you can see this blue shaded area around Luling and Des Allemands, north of Des Allemands really. And that is where we're seeing the potential for some possibly close to quarter size diameter hail. So that is moving to the northeast too. Let me get back to our rotation for that cell. And here it is, very plain to see. This was a cell that was showing some rotation over Lake Pontchartrain and looking like a water spout may have begun to develop. Then the National Weather Service has issued the tornado warning for when that cell has now moved over land. So this is the spot on the northern edge of Madisonville and getting very close to Covington, pretty much right over Covington now, that we're seeing our tornado warning happen. And this is the spot with this little couplet here where the rotation would potentially be. So in this stretch of I-12, of course, lots of roads and interstates or other highways in this general area. And actually, they've just extended it even farther for that tornado warning, which makes sense since the signature is pretty obvious there that you can see very close to Covington. If you are in Covington, please get to your safe space and just hang out there while you can, as this rotating storm is heading your way rather quickly in the next few minutes. And now it's extended out farther to the northeast into other parts of St. Tammany Parish. So this is a brand new tornado warning. Let me get you the latest on that. This one will go officially until 5 p.m. And this one is for parts of St. Tammany, of course, and it does extend into southeastern Washington and also a little fringe of Pearl River County in Mississippi. It looks like over Abita Springs is where the rotation is most pronounced right now. Let's get to another tool tracking the rotation here. Very close to Covington and Abita Springs, we're seeing moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. And in fact, they're wording it here, a tornado was reported over Abita Springs or over Covington, moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. So not sure if we'll get some details coming in soon about that. Let me show you quickly as I use my tracker here so you can figure out about when it might arrive in other parts of the parish. So if we're going roughly from here, looking northeast. Oh, let me change that speed very quickly. Let's see. We're going to get you the tracker so you can, kind of plan for when it might potentially show up in your area. So if we do this, let's see. Here we go. 50 miles per hour extended out. And you can see the other locations that might soon be seeing this. Covington and Abita Springs pretty much right now, of course. Waldheim maybe about 440, Telasheek maybe 447, and other spots farther out like Bush and Sun might be more toward 450. And if it does continue toward Rio, that would be just before 5 p.m. So using our tools here, we do see not only, of course, the rotation. This is our big thing. If you're in this red shaded box, here is where right over Covington, very close to Abita Springs, that's where the rotation is right now. And if you're anywhere in this red shaded box, you can see the trajectory of that potential rotating storm moving your way. So please, if you are in that spot, it's the time to think about where to go. Here is the rest of our radar scene right now, and there's very heavy rain accompanying this rotation. So kind of interesting whether we will be able to get any sort of pictures of this or not, but you can see it here around Covington. It could potentially have rain around it, as this is sort of the heart of the storm with that very heavy rain, hot pink kind of color showing up, sampling the rain rate there. Let's see, about 3 to 4 or so inches per hour. So some really heavy rain with this system. It may not be something that you're going to be able to see, but we are seeing that rotation in this kind of embedded within this large area of heavy rain. A lot of lightning as well. So there is some extremely rough weather moving through Covington and off to the northeast at this point. Hence the tornado warning, and the new one again extends out to 5 p.m. So we'll be tracking this for you for a little bit longer, moving through the 4 p.m. hour. One thing that we have seen is that the line has broken up a bit. So instead of that more linear kind of line like it was showing signs of becoming around Baton Rouge and approaching our area, now we've seen some of the line breaking up a bit and becoming a bit stronger within these broken sections of the line. So high wind gusts still certainly potential or still possible. You can see farther south, that's the severe thunderstorm warning for those high winds and possibly also some hail and a lot of lightning. Our main concern, of course, that rotation with this storm in St. Tammany Parish. And as of right now, I'm starting to see a bit of weakening, it looks like, with our velocity product. Let's see if we have any more information coming in from the National Weather Service. We still have the tornado watch, of course, until 6. We have the tornado warnings going especially for St. Tammany and extending into Washington and Pearl River County in Mississippi until 5 p.m. And let's see if we have any other new information here. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado, as we've been saying, around Covington or Abita Springs. So here would be that rotation. Right now you can see on the eastern edge of Covington around Abita Springs. But again, it looks a little less noticeable than in some earlier scans, at least at this point. And on this product as well, our rotation tracker, it is there. You can see it again near Covington, getting very close to Abita Springs and eventually extending out toward other spots like Waldheim. But this is where the rotation is right now. And it looks like it has decreased a little bit as far as the strength of that signature. Let me show you, for example, over the last few minutes, we're going forward in time here. You can see that deeper red embedded in the green, and now it's just green. So still rotation, still certainly take this warning seriously, especially for those of you in Covington, in Abita Springs, and extending out anywhere off to the northeast that's in that red box, including Waldheim, other locations out towards Sun and Bush eventually, although not as dire there just yet because it's farther out. But certainly it does look like it may have weakened just a bit as far as that rotation signature goes. So that would be a great thing if we're seeing a little bit less of that as opposed to earlier, indicating some maybe weakening of that rotation and maybe more what we call a mesoscale kind of rotation, where it's a broader circulation farther up in the storm, not necessarily reaching the ground in that funnel shape, of course, of the tornado. So that would be a good thing. Still, though, have our tornado warning going on for that part of St. Tammany. So let's see, south of Lake Pontchartrain, we see a bit of a break up there, and then another big line of those strong storms with a lot of lightning, and all of that moving, inching closer into the metro area, including Kenner, Metairie, New Orleans, and much of the West Bank. But actually right now, the really roughest weather is still located just out to the west. You can see it here around Luling, right now just on the edge of Kenner, and into almost Metairie. Within the next few minutes, we'll be seeing this strong cell. This one could bring high wind gusts, and it is also bringing a lot of lightning. Checking back on that, of course, really main concern and the reason that we're breaking into our programming right now, the tornado warning issued for St. Tammany Parish and some spots of Washington and Pearl River County in Mississippi. And this is for rotation around Covington or Abita Springs, moving to the northeast pretty fast at about 50 miles per hour. Let's see if we can see a new scan here from our velocity product. And again, it's showing signs, I think, of weakening a little bit as far as the rotation goes. You can see the reds and the greens will go back 30 minutes and push this forward. That was really, I paused it here almost 10 minutes ago, where you can see it really clearly south of Covington. And now we'll go forward in time, and you can see the subsequent scans showing it not quite as strong, but still rotation here around Covington, but you're not seeing those greens and reds just completely wrapping into each other. That would indicate, you know, your typical tornadic kind of couplet with winds coming together at a point, showing those winds toward and away from the radar site in Hammond, becoming really close together in that kind of little swirl, of course. This is a different tool that we use. This is our shear tracker, and this one has certainly shown some weakening with the past maybe 15 minutes or so. We'll track this one as well, so you can see the change. I'll go back 30 minutes here, and you can see it very strong there around Madisonville. This was about 10 minutes ago, and then here we are about 5 minutes ago, and now here we are with this rotation really kind of weakening as far as this particular product goes. So that's good. We've got a couple of different tools showing us that the rotation may be weakening now as this storm, or this part of the storm, progresses northeast of Abita Springs. Looking quickly also at what's going on with the hail potential, we may also see, even if you don't get a tornado, there could be high wind gusts, there could be large hail. All of these were concerns for today. And we are now seeing in the light blue that corresponds to about pea-size hail. So there is some hail actually farther north around Franklinton and right over Franklinton. There may be closer to quarter-size diameter hail. So these storms producing hail, producing some high wind gusts, and producing the rotation that's warranted this tornado warning from the National Weather Service. Glancing again quickly south of the lake, the big question today for a lot of people who are, you know, asking us things, when is this going to get to the city, where the St. Patrick's Day parade was canceled because of these storms? And it's very close now. I think it'll be probably within, I've been saying, about 4 to 5 or so for the metro area, and it's still looking like that. Although it has kind of slowed down a little bit with its eastward progression. Still a lot of lightning with these two cells. One, the tornado warned storm that, if you're just turning on your TV or just joining us, I've been tracking, but does look like it may be weakening with the rotation a bit. And then farther south, we have our big severe thunderstorm warning box in the yellow, including Luling and other spots south of Lake Pontchartrain. So these are the two active warnings that we have going on: Covington area and off to the northeast, and our next batch, kind of big batch of these strong thunderstorms around Luling and north into other spots closer to the lake. So let me zoom in on that one really quickly for you, because this one is outlined for potential high winds as well as hail. This is just arriving at Kenner and is really right over Luling, not far from Laplace, but Laplace, you should be seeing things improving right now or very shortly if you haven't seen it yet. And then still some heavy rain around Des Allemands, and we're kind of seeing the same spots. It's sort of inching more slowly, it looks like, toward the city with this southern part of the line. So if it does continue like that, there might be some potential, especially with heavy rain like that, in those low-lying areas or spots that you know of that tend to flood in events like this. Tracking what's going on with our tornado warning, let me check in quickly and see if we have more information coming from the National Weather Service. They've continued the tornado warning. They're not canceling it at this point. And it looks like we'll stick with this one for at least a little longer as it continues northeast. And it's moving the cell itself at about 50 miles per hour. So I'll get the tracker on in just a second. Let me do that actually right now. We can zoom in on where we're seeing that roughest weather right now. And let me pull up our velocity product so we can check that out. All right, and let's see, did they cancel that one? Let's see, I no longer see it glowing there, so let's see. That would be great. As I was showing a little earlier, the rotation was really not looking quite as impressive as earlier when the cell was just coming on to the north shore from Lake Pontchartrain, so that would be really good if they did do that. It appears that they have canceled the warning, so that's a good thing, and maybe canceling the severe thunderstorm warning south of the lake too. So this would be great, kind of a flare-up of some rotation, hopefully not getting reports, or we won't get reports of a lot of damage and things like that, but there certainly was that rotation showing up, but it's now weakened, tracking quickly where the rest of that cell is going to be heading. Bush and Sun toward almost 5 p.m. and then maybe toward Bogalusa, places like the middle school at Bogalusa, maybe a little bit after 5 p.m. Just going through very quickly once again and kind of checking one more time. The severe thunderstorm warning actually is still, it looks like, in effect. They canceled it for part of the area to the west, so they've kind of trimmed it here. So still severe thunderstorm warning for these spots in the bright yellow shading. Farther north, it looks like that tornado warning has been canceled that we were tracking through St. Tammany. Now there's still this little corner right over the Covington area, so that may have been left over, it looks like, from earlier, but it should, in any case, around Covington and Madisonville, it should be calming down. You can see our radar showing the rain actually breaking up and some lighter kind of rain moving in. Looking quickly at the rotation again, we will just check it out because it has been giving us some good information about where some of that rotation, you know, what direction it has been going as far as strengthening or weakening. And yeah, let's do it again. We'll go back for the last 30 minutes and put it into motion here. That was really the time right around here that we had the strongest signature for that rotation near Covington, and now it's really weakened as we move forward in time to now 4:40 or beyond. Here is another tool that really tracks the changing wind speed and direction, the shear. So we call it the rotation tracker here. Let me show you this one really quickly. Very significant, signatures there around Madisonville, around 4:20, on toward Covington at 4:30. And now look at this, our rotational, our shear product has really shown that coming down. So hence the rotation, not being enough to continue that tornado warning for that spot. Let's see, we do have, public report of a tornado. It looks like this was from an earlier one, the National Weather Service updating on our chat here from earlier. There was a big signature earlier this afternoon in Walthall around Tylertown, Mississippi. So they're giving some storm reports about that. Let's see, still continuing our severe thunderstorm warning for our South Shore spots close to the city now. This yellow triangle here from Des Allemands north into Kenner and Metairie. So still kind of taking its time, isn't it? It's been in about the same location since we came on the air several minutes ago, maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago. And we're not seeing it really charge toward the city very quickly right now. It's kind of getting hung up here, it looks like. We'll need it to, of course, progress to the east a bit more to get it into Kenner and then Metairie along the West Bank as well and into New Orleans. But we do have a little shower here that's been popping up around Lake Salvador, and now it looks like moving over our West Bank parts of New Orleans and Orleans Parish and Jefferson Parish in those spots. So that one moving to the northeast. Whatever rain you're getting though uptown or on these portions of the West Bank, it's not the main line just yet, so probably pretty light for you here as that continues over the city. So the rain will pick up in the next couple of minutes for New Orleans, even into parts of, areas around City Park and even eventually into New Orleans East. But this isn't the line just yet. Actually, that one is just now getting to Kenner. So keep in mind the high winds, the hail, the heavy rain, and a lot of lightning. Let's track actually how much lightning that is. We've seen this complex of storms, and here we go, 340 or so strikes over the past 10 or 15 minutes. So a pretty good amount of lightning, of course, to go along with those storms. North, we're still seeing this small box outlined. I believe that is left over from an earlier warning and still showing up. It looks like the tornado warning has been expired for St. Tammany and canceled that larger box for that spot from St. Tammany into Pearl River County and into the southern part of Washington Parish. So our live radar showing the line getting here really closely. If you're wondering, okay, when's it coming to New Orleans? I've been saying probably before 5. It's right outside of our area right now. So it might actually take till 5 or a little bit after to continue off to the east and make it over the city with that heavier rain and the lightning there. Any updates from the National Weather Service? Let's see what else they have for us. Getting a local storm report of 1-inch diameter hail, it looks like, in Kenner. So this is coming in just a few minutes ago, 4:40, 4:39. Hail with 1-inch diameter, and that is for Kenner. So in, let's see, quarter-sized hail there. So that is the threshold where that becomes a severe thunderstorm. If you're expecting quarter-size or 1-inch diameter hail, that's where really you start to get more significant damage than smaller hail, which can do a little bit of damage, but not really quite as much. So severe thunderstorm warnings, the criteria is now 1-inch diameter hail, and apparently that is reported around Kenner. So let's check out our hail tracker here. We were looking at it for some northern storms around our North Shore spots. Aha, here you can definitely see that, although it does look like the hail core is moving more possibly over the lake, very close to Kenner. But the more significant area in the darker blue here, that would be that close to quarter size diameter hail. This is right on the fringes of getting out over Lake Pontchartrain. So hopefully don't have to see a lot of that over those populated parts of the Kenner area itself, although there have been some reports of that so far, and you can see that light blue extending over Kenner. But the trajectory for that is off to the northeast. At about 50 miles per hour, these have been moving. Let me track that really quickly so we can see where this cell will end up. Also some hail signatures with that cell over St. Tammany Parish that was tornado warned, but no longer is, as we saw that rotation weakening. All right, tracking that hail core over the causeway, maybe sometime after 5 p.m. and then on towards some of our northern, North Shore spots from Mandeville to Lacombe, probably around 5, maybe 15 or 20 or so. So just a heads up there, if that does hold together, that would be the time that you can look for that along our North Shore spots. All right, just reassessing what's going on here with our weather, just kind of the big overview. We actually no longer have a tornado warning, so that is a good thing. North of the lake, that has come to an end, and we were tracking that earlier and showing you how it was weakening. Still have the severe thunderstorm warning in this portion of our area, almost getting toward Kenner now, or moving into Kenner really at this point. So that will be moving off slowly over Metairie and New Orleans as we progress forward in time. And then farther north, actually outside of our area, there are many other warnings. I had this graphic pulled up earlier. I mean, severe weather outbreak, outlined for today's time frame in the afternoon especially, and we are indeed seeing very strong signatures of tornadoes, unfortunately, in these purples with tornadoes there across Mississippi and into Alabama. The red boxes are other tornado warnings that just haven't been confirmed yet, but there is indication on radar that there's enough rotation that we might be seeing some tornadoes in those locations in Mississippi and Alabama. Now, moving into tonight, we are continuing with our tornado watch for our northern spots until 6 p.m. officially. We'll see if that gets extended. Something new that has happened is a new tornado watch extended into coastal Mississippi. So if you're joining us from there, we are still under a tornado watch there until 6 p.m. So a little bit longer to go there. We're still seeing the hail as well as the high wind potential with that cell that's now moving out, some of it at least, over Lake Pontchartrain. So if you can avoid getting on the causeway, of course, this is going to be a big significant storm, very hard to drive in over the next several minutes. And then as we move into, I think after maybe 5 p.m. or so, we will start to see this line, which is getting a little bit hung up, move over New Orleans. The only active warning again is that one toward Kenner and Metairie. And let's see, we will, yeah. Okay, and I'm hearing that we're going to sign off for broadcasting. You can continue to watch us on WWL Plus as we track this cell and any other severe weather that pops up if we need to with tornado warnings. We'll see you back here on Channel 4. For now, please join us on WWL Plus. You can download it for free on your TV.
This has been a severe weather alert from WWL Weather, sponsored by Egan Insurance Agency.
Joining us on WWL Plus, we're still tracking the weather that's moving across our area. We have heavy rain, we have lightning, and we have some high winds. We still have a severe thunderstorm warning with our storm that's getting close to New Orleans at this point. Let me see how long that one goes. It looks like until 6 p.m. is for the tornado watch, and for the warning, until 5:15, so we have about another 25 minutes or so with this one. We do have a lot of lightning moving out over the lake, so around the causeway, we are seeing the rain approaching at this point. We've seen our line breaking up a bit, and so the cells have been able to kind of tap into some energy from the south. Sometimes when you see them break up, it gives them some south, especially with south winds and south movement of the air, it gives them some energy to kind of pump them up when you start to see that line break up, as opposed to staying a little bit more structured in that linear kind of line that we see, or I should just say line. We are seeing the storm still moving across St. Tammany Parish, Washington Parish, and into Pearl River County in Mississippi. And the lightning and the heavy rain with our warning farther south is still very significant, and it hasn't been moving quite as quickly as it could off to the east. So we are still tracking this one with a ton of lightning, and we've been sampling that throughout the day. Looking quickly at the different rotation spots that we're seeing, I'm really not seeing anything showing up that's looking really likely to cause a rotation or to cause, a potential tornado in the next several minutes at least. One new thing is that we have a flood advisory for parts of St. Charles, St. John, Lafourche, and Jefferson, and I was kind of pointing out that that might happen if we continued with this cell that's gotten hung up here. So really heavy rain with these rainfall rates. Look at this over Kenner. Let me sample this for you. Over 4 inches per hour with that cell over Kenner. So a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain. This is all moving east, but not too fast really for this particular cell. It's kind of gotten stuck and is still bringing the rain over the same spots. This was issued, 20 minutes ago or so, and it's just been that heavy rain around Luling for a while now. So we're still seeing the rain coming down, and at 4 inches per hour. If you go a half hour, you've got over 2 inches there if you have a rainfall rate of over 4 inches. So that's why we're seeing a street flood advisory. It looks like a flood advisory issued for those locations. Also have a lot of lightning now approaching our causeway spots. And farther north, we were tracking some rotation with a cell around Madisonville and Mandeville. Now that is moving off to the northeast. So we're not seeing that quite as much. If you're in these spots, Madisonville, Covington, you're starting to see things calm down a little bit. Right over the lake, though, wow, a lot of activity right over the causeway. Gusty winds, some really heavy rain. I mean, this would be really difficult to drive in right over actually the airport and places like that around Kenner, on the northern edge of Kenner there and near the lake, then out over the lake and approaching the causeway. So some significant storms moving to the northeast there, but at least I was just showing you our rotation. At least we're not seeing a ton of rotation with that part of the line. And actually moving into tonight, the main spot that we are looking for any sort of continued severe weather risk until at least 6, might be even extended past that perhaps, is going to be north of the lake into Mississippi as well. So tornado watch until 6 p.m. for those locations. New Orleans actually isn't included here. Now, there is still certainly a risk of some severe storms like we're seeing just off to the west, including Kenner and officially getting toward Metairie now. Still a risk for severe weather, but just the tornado watch itself, the indications so far today have been that it would really be a bit more concentrated north and even north of our North Shore locations into Mississippi and farther into Alabama. In fact, it's been looking like that for a few days now, since we've been tracking this for about a full week. Since last Sunday, we were really honing in on this potential for severe weather on Saturday. And indeed, we have seen some of that. Looking quickly at what we have going on, again, we're seeing North Shore spots, the rain breaking up a bit around our St. Tammany and Washington Parish areas, now getting into Picayune and along I-59, getting some rain there. A huge amount of lightning and a very heavy pocket of rain is here over Kenner. So yeah, right around the airport, there is some really heavy rain. It'll be interesting to see what the rain totals are with this heavy spot. Wow, precipitation rate near 9 inches per hour for at least one part of this cell. Most of the heaviest rain, though, with that cell, look at this. Oh my goodness, precipitation rate, it wants to say 17 inches per hour. But that is really located now out over the lake. So not a great day to be boating, but you know, there have been some marine warnings for anyone who does happen to be out there. This is really heavy rain off to the west of the causeway and now just about to move out over the causeway itself. We've talked about hail as well. I wanted to show you that so we can keep an eye on how these storms are progressing. Still showing some hail potential around Kenner right now, and we are expecting that to move out over the lake. In fact, we've seen it spread to the northeast here over kind of our mid-lake, almost to causeway kind of spots in Lake Pontchartrain. So there is hail potential actually right over the midpoint of the Causeway Bridge, stretching from Metairie over to Mandeville. So not a great time to be out there. If you can just kind of hang on for a little bit, we're going to see that pass to the east, although it's been going rather slowly and getting hung up to the west of the city. Yeah, we're still waiting on it. In fact, our tracker earlier, when the line was making a bit more progress, it was showing it around New Orleans by about 4:30 to 5 or so. It's very close. We're seeing it at Kenner and just now getting to Metairie around that time. So not too far off. However, it has gone just a bit slower in the past few minutes. So still waiting for that to make its way over the city itself. We are starting to see that light green though showing up. So if you're joining us and you're kind of thinking about, of course, going outside, not a great idea as we have to wait for this to pass, but you may start to be getting that lighter rain. And this time, after a few lighter showers earlier in the day, this time that is the leading edge of this heavier pocket of rain, or this heavier line that's moving in right now. We are just watching this continue to the east. Let's see if we have any other rotation signatures showing up. We're not seeing that as much, although there is a little bit here over Kenner. So this is somewhat weak for our shear or rotation product that I have pulled up here. You can see the green corresponds to weak. So seeing just a little bit of that. With the National Weather Service, they're so good about tracking rotation and determining whether to issue the tornado warning as opposed to just kind of watching and seeing what happens. Because if you have a meso low or that rotation farther up, that could be certainly some rotation, but it may not be making it to the ground. So I know that they are careful about issuing those warnings when it really does look like there's a pretty high chance of not just getting some rotation in a storm, which of course can happen with thunderstorms, but actually showing enough strength with the rotation that it might actually be producing a tornado. So I'm sure they're watching it closely over there. We're watching it closely here as well. And really one thing that we're seeing is still the hail showing up around Kenner and toward the Causeway Bridge. Let's see if we have any more reports. At about 4:40, we had a report of some hail in Kenner. And now I would guess there are more reports coming in right now. We have some reporters out and about and other people, you know, keeping up with social media and things like that while we're analyzing really more the radar here. So we'll hear what some of our other team members have to say when we hear of it. But I would say hail potential certainly possible around Kenner. We're even seeing that showing up on our radar site and our radar scans. Okay, it's almost 5 p.m. and we are expecting, just to look at our model here, the line to continue to the east. At 5 p.m., it's doing an okay job. It actually has some of it lagging a bit farther behind north of the lake, but it also has the rain already having shown up in New Orleans and east towards St. Bernard, which we have not seen. So the tornado watch that's out until 6 p.m., the thinking that this will all be finished by about 6 p.m. I mean, we're already at 5 p.m., so it might be a little longer than that, but we are just going to wait as we move forward in time here until 6 p.m. This could be the scene. Again, we might have a bit still lagging south of the lake especially, and then by 8 p.m. we'll see it continue farther to the east. And I think by 8 and 9 it should be completely finished. So we knew going into this event it was going to be in the afternoon, and indeed that is what we have seen. Whitney?
Thank you so much, Alexandra. I wanted to take you all now and show you some video of Tylertown, the tornado that was captured there and some of the damage in Kentwood. Obviously, we have some crews out and we'll be touching base with them in just a little bit. If you're just joining us now, we've been tracking these storms, but the video on your screen is of Tylertown, Mississippi, where you see a tornado was captured on camera there, video sent to us, and then some of the damage in Kentwood. I know you've been tracking, Alexandra, storms and warnings. What are you seeing right now?
All right, Winnie, we have still our severe thunderstorm warning for spots south of Lake Pontchartrain, just to the west of New Orleans. There is a big part of this system that has been really heavy, lots of lightning, and that's now moving out over the causeway. So the severe thunderstorm warning goes up until Kenner and Metairie, and we are expecting still some heavy rain there, but clearly the really big part of this system, or this particular cell or line of storms, has been moving out over the causeway. Really heavy rain. I've been sampling some parts of this cell, and there are some indications there could be 10 inches per hour kind of rainfall rates. In fact, radar wanted to suggest 17 inches per hour with one small pocket of that storm. Lots of lightning as well. I've been sampling it near about 300 strikes or so just in the past 10 or so minutes. And we are continuing to watch this one if we progress to the northeast with its current rate of movement. We're placing this getting pretty heavy around places like Lacombe and maybe even towards Slidell. You can see the timeline here. Lacombe maybe in about 10 or 15 minutes, and then potentially on toward at least parts, maybe even western parts of Slidell, or getting toward the Slidell area by about 5:20 or so. So a lot of rain, heavy rain, a lot of lightning, gusty wind potential. And also we've had hail potential as well. Tracking that with our hail, actually there's a little bit more of a pretty big established hail core, it looks like, with this system. Almost a 1/4 inch hail showing up right now with our radar scans. Earlier we did get at least one report of hail at Kenner of 1 inch diameter potentially, so we'll see if we get more reports coming out about that. As I've been saying, we are still looking for this system to continue to the east, so tracking it over the next several hours. It's not a perfect timeline, but just to get you something so you can make some plans. This is by about 6 potentially. I think we'll still have rain a lot closer to New Orleans, still lagging behind this current location. And then this is 8 p.m. and then by 9 and 10, we should be finished with this system. Looking quickly also at what else we have as far as our watches and warnings go. We have that one severe thunderstorm warning just out to the west of New Orleans. And now, as I was saying, really the more active part of that cell is right over the causeway. And then we still have a tornado watch until 6 p.m. for our north of the lake locations into southern Mississippi, our coastal Mississippi spots included in that. And I wouldn't be surprised if at least some part of this area gets extended past 6 p.m. and the time extended out maybe to 7 or 8 for our Mississippi spots potentially. Hasn't happened yet, but it just looks likely, looking at the current speed, that we may see some changes there. Then eventually our tornado watch will be gone. The rain will continue to the east and northeast of us. Checking quickly on our warnings that are ongoing. Huge area of flash flood warning across Mississippi. Tornado warnings here, tornado warnings into northern Alabama. And in fact, these have been some really significant warnings with confirmed tornadoes there. Dangerous situations with these warned areas into northern Mississippi now. Checking quickly on what else we can expect past that. Here is our live camera really quickly for our New Orleans spots. What we're seeing right now as it loads, we've got the gray skies, the rain just now moving into New Orleans. Our temperatures have made it into the upper 70s, a very warm, kind of sticky, humid day. Look at these wind gusts also. 58 mile per hour gusts at the lakefront, 46 mile per hour gusts at Kenner, and this is just the windy setup that we have ahead of the storms. Tonight we're looking for the rain, of course, to end. I think by 9 and 10 it'll be done. Our lows tonight north and south are expected in the 50s. Peek ahead at tomorrow, totally different scene. Lots of sun, very breezy, or rather breezy. Northwest winds up to about 18 miles per hour. And then our 7-day forecast shows a gorgeous, kind of chilly morning for St. Patrick's Day with highs around 70 degrees. So that's our current look. Let me get you one more look at radar in case you're just joining us on WWL Plus and trying to figure out what's happening with our weather. We're getting you this update at 5:05 p.m. and the rain is just getting to spots like over Kenner, approaching or just now arriving at Metairie, and will soon, I would say by about 5:30, you can already see the rain picking up a bit over New Orleans. Lots of heavy rain over the Lake Pontchartrain areas as well.
And Alexandra, is this storm moving as fast as we expected, or is it moving slower than expected?
Yeah, it's kind of slowed down on the southern end. So a lot of models had it already over New Orleans by 5. So it's just a little bit slow. I think it's been lagging behind in the past maybe hour or so. Nice to see, though, some of our North Shore spots, Covington and Madisonville, just a little while ago, half hour ago or so, had a tornado warning active. Now the rain is almost completely left. So you might have a bit of this shower action that's showing up behind that main line. That's around Hammond and parts of Tangipahoa Parish. But really the severe threat is going to be pretty quickly coming to an end after you get that line of storms progressing to the east of your area.
And earlier this afternoon, there was a tornado, or it appeared to be a tornado north of us there in the Kentwood area.
Yes, we have some tornado reports from around there, and actually we've had reporters out and people updating lots of pictures on social media. Let me show you where those reports are. This is from the National Weather Service. There were these showing up, one around Kentwood and a few more around Tylertown and Salem, Mississippi. So it looks like this one is probably going to be a tornado. In fact, the report indicates likely tornado already from the National Weather Service without going out and surveying just yet, which would probably happen tomorrow, surveying the scene to determine exactly, how strong and track and so forth. And also, yes, around Kentwood, also a tornado report from earlier today.
All right. Thank you so much. I want to show some video, the video of the Kentwood area, the tornado damage that we have. You can see there's some drone video that was sent in to us, I believe, and this is where we believe possibly a tornado touchdown, just what you were just speaking about. But this viewer video sent in to us. Our Eleanor went out there early, was out there, or is out there now actually. Working to gather information and check on these reports of damage, but this is some of the video that we've gathered. And then I think we might have some video of some Kentwood area damage from the Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office. It looks like, some video of the Kentwood area damage from Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office. We have that there. Just take a look at this video that they sent. All right, and you can see on your screen there, obviously some heavy winds there. Alexandra, I don't know if you're seeing that. The winds damaging, obviously, the trees there. I don't think we have any reports of anyone being injured per se, but definitely some high winds there. And it'll take time for them to determine whether or not this was an actual tornado.
Survey crews tomorrow. They're also looking, by the way, at these same pictures. They're analyzing what they can just from the social media content and videos and pictures and so forth. So a damaged home we're seeing, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, wow. I mean, this is really something. So yeah, they're already looking, and then tomorrow once the severe threat is over, tomorrow they'll get a crew out there, and then they'll look at really specific things. What kind of structure is it? How old is it? They look at a lot of different things to determine what the rating of the tornado was.
Oh, I see. I think we're able to get out to Eleanor right now. She is in Kentwood surveying some of the damage there. Eleanor, what are you seeing?
Whitney, I'm just going to step out the way so you all can see. Look at the damage that this possible tornado that touched down ripped through here. These are the trees that are left standing. I'm in Kentwood, Tangipahoa Parish. These are the trees that have been snapped in half as that storm barreled its way through, where they're actually miraculously in that short period of time, they've already been able to clear the roadway. We're seeing cars able to travel down, but you can see them now breaking up the stumps that remain. Troy's going to pan to our right where you can see houses. It looks like their garage where they park their cars in. completely destroyed. It looks like the roof of that garage is now sitting beside the cars that it was once protecting. We can see it appears a homeowner. We know that they are the people in the purple shirts that you're seeing on screen there. There's some roofers that have been out here helping tarp people's homes. But look at these trees in this person's front yard, as Troy's going to show you. They're no more. They're no more. These trees are completely snapped. These roads were all closed for a long period of time, Whitney, when we got out here. But in the tree, as we've been parts of houses wrapped and intertwined into trees in people's homes. Whitney, old oak tree was completely uprooted from his home and had barreled itself onto his garage, which had then crushed his truck that is also protecting. And Troy, if you pan over to your left, I don't know if we can show them, that oak tree right there, you guys can see that oak tree. Look, you can see how big it is. Also completely uprooted from the ground after this storm ripped through. We've spoken to many residents out here. All of them have told us, one man we spoke to had been here in Kentwood since 1986, and he said he has never seen a tornado like this in his We've got residents now coming out. Many of them took shelters in local convenience stores, and they are all now coming home to see what their damage is, what they've got left, what they need to protect. That house over there, we see they've tarped it. I'm unsure if that's from a previous storm, but there's a tarp on that roof there. But like you can see, the damage, all I can say is the damage, the carnage of this storm that came through. Now it's just going to be cleanup, and many residents out here are what they do. Where do you start when you have a storm like this and damage that comes so quickly? That's what many of the people told us. It was like they didn't have time. They didn't know what was happening. They just listened and they got down as quick as they could before anything could be flung around. And that was a big concern local leaders had before this, was possible projectiles. And like I mentioned early, things were wrapped up in trees. We spoke to one man who lived across the other side, and all his shed had blown in and strewn across his neighbor's yard. But like we're seeing, like Troy's showing you now, it's just clean up for the next few days as residents really take in the damage. But I'm out here in Kentwood, like I said, in Tangipahoa Parish, and I'll continue to bring updates as we get them live. Reporting in Kentwood, Eleanor Tabone, WWL, Louisiana.
All right, Eleanor, thank you so much. I want to turn now to Tylertown, where our Rachel Hanley is. We're getting reports there of possible casualties in that storm there. Rachel?
Yeah, and sadly, we were actually able to confirm 3 fatalities just now. I talked with the chief of Tylertown's police department, Jordan Hill. He says 2 adults and 1 juvenile were killed in what seems to have been more than one possible tornado here. We're still not saying tornado because nothing has been officially confirmed yet, but it's seeming pretty likely at this point based on the damage. We are seeing some serious damage, and the police chief even called it, quote, significant damage here. We asked him about those fatalities, and he says the 3 people who were killed were on Bethlehem Loop Road, and that's just northeast of Tylertown. He also said that there have been multiple injuries from this storm here. We're just west of Tylertown right now on Highway 48, and we came here because we heard that there was some significant damage at an RV park called Paradise Ranch RV Resort that's off of Highway 48. We couldn't get up to it because there are a lot of trees and power lines down on the road right now. They're working on clearing them, but there is clearly a lot to be done here. Some trees are completely uprooted, others are snapped in half. Again, we can't confirm any tornadoes here, but I can say that whatever came through here had some serious wind because we are seeing so much debris on the ground. And I also mentioned power lines. It's something else to know if you live in this area. We are seeing a lot of outages. I just checked the map for Magnolia Electric Company. That's the energy company that manages this area. It looks like about a third of the county is without power right now. That's about 2,500 people. So far, a few hundred have had their power restored, but based on what we're seeing right here, it looks like it is going to be a long recovery period for here. It does look like cars are maybe being allowed to approach a little bit closer than we were a second ago as we came down Highway 48. This was not the only area of damage that we saw. We passed a few other sections of road where you'd be driving and everything looked fine, and then all of a sudden, trees snapped across the road, debris, as we're seeing now, some trees uprooted. So it looks like whatever happened here, or whatever strong winds happened here, may have crossed Highway 48 multiple times. And again, we are west of Tylertown right now. So we're hoping we may be able to get to that RV park. The police chief said no injuries or fatalities reported there, but he says some people are trapped there right now. So hopefully out here we should be able to get access to that area more and be able to tell you more about just what the damage at that RV park looks like. But again, sadly, we do have 3 confirmed fatalities up here in the Tylertown area. Whitney.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much. That's very sad news about those fatalities there. Obviously, you'll be out surveying and we'll learn more as the day goes on. Thank you, Rachel. Right now, I want to show you some video of some downed trees along the street this came in from the Tangipahoa Sheriff's Office. Downed trees, I believe this is in the Kentwood area. But obviously, some heavy storms coming through that area. Yes, from the Kentwood area there, some heavy storms coming through that area, knocking down those trees, snapping some of them in half there, you see. And then now there's a uprooted tree, a picture of a large downed tree also from the sheriff's office, just pulling it from the root out of the ground there. And you can see just how powerful these winds must have been to get that tree out of there. Alexandra, when you see pictures like this, what does that tell you? I guess when, with your meteorological, knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it looks very significant for sure. I mean, you don't see that every day. Now, there are some high wind gusts that, could potentially have done something similar just depending on the soil, moisture and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's really something to see. Yeah,
and like you said, they'll survey, they'll come out and survey, and we'll get confirmation later on whether or not this was a tornado. There's also a picture of a home with some roof damage from Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff's Office. A lot of photos coming out of Kentwood there. So obviously, they are surveying some reports of damage and sending us these photos. And then there's a traffic cam we want to show you of some heavy rain in Kenner, I-10 at Loyola Drive there. See, the rain is coming down. Drivers getting through that. And yeah, just obviously if you can stay off the roads during rain like this, I would suggest you do that. But I know some people feel they have to get places. But I want to send it now to Alexandra, check in with the weather. And what are you seeing?
All right, we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning. This one is for, you can see the yellow box here along the north shore of Lake Pontchartrain. So this is from around the Lacombe area, including parts of Slidell, and really including also around Mandeville, and then off to the northeast. Tallahassee, Picayune, places like this around Slidell, north of Slidell along Highway 11 here toward Picayune and other spots, including sun. This is a big cell, lots of very heavy rain, ton of lightning as well, but also the potential for some high wind gusts and also some hail. So all of these things, especially right around Lacombe, around this part. Of course, if you're joining us from Lacombe, the rain is coming down extremely heavy right now. Here it is right over Lacombe, edging toward other places around Slidell, but actually some of the heaviest you can see might potentially stay just a little bit west of Slidell. We do have this whole part of the cell, though, that's also going to be lifting to the northeast. So Slidell is going to be getting some heavy rain, especially the western edge, but really more so at the moment, it's Lacombe. This is a cell that's been moving pretty fast, around 50 or so miles per hour to the northeast. The warned area, you can see in the yellow box again, that warning goes until 6 p.m. So we're waiting for quite a while for this cell to move off to the northeast with its potential for high wind gusts. Of course, the huge amount of lightning, let me sample that really quickly for you. Lots and lots of lightning is going to be moving in, about 500 strikes over the past few minutes with just that one part of the line. Extending farther south, I want to show you what's going on because we're seeing it arrive just now almost into New Orleans. In fact, it is reaching parts of the city. Right over Metairie now, there is some very heavy rain, and other locations along the West Bank are about to see this line roll in, although actually the heaviest core of this, or heaviest spot in this thunderstorm, is right over Metairie and the southern edge of the causeway at this point. That's some really heavy rain. I've been looking and using our radar tools to see just how heavy, and this, for example, that one part that I sampled shows 8 inches per hour. So a really heavy rain. Like Whitney was saying, sometimes you have to get out, but oh my goodness, this is really heavy. If you can wait a little bit, that would be really good. The line has slowed down a little bit, but it is now moving into some of our spots in New Orleans as well, especially closer to the lake. We've seen showers starting to spread over, and we did have just a little while ago some lighter rain. But now we're leading up to the actual line itself, which has gotten, it looks like, thinner and thinner as that really big cell moved out over the lake, the one that's now moving into St. Tammany. We're seeing the line, what's left of it on the southern edge, moving into, well, right over Metairie and into New Orleans soon. That's gotten a little bit smaller overall. Looks like we do have, by the way, a new flood advisory until 8:30 this evening, and this is going to include spots like parts of Jefferson Parish, Orleans, Plaquemine, St. Bernard, and St. Charles. Let me pull up our warnings here so you can see where that is included. Let's see. We had the graphic that was showing that. Let's see, not with our rotation, but I'll get it pulled up for you in a second. But basically just where you see that really heavy rain is where that advisory is. And this is those low-lying spots that you can think of. You know about them around your neighborhood or on your routes that tend to fill up with water. This is some heavy rain, and it's a little unusual actually to get one of these heavy rain flooding advisories for New Orleans this time of year. It can happen, of course, with big spring storm systems like this, but the more common time for that is during the summer, where our moisture is just through the roof in the atmosphere. It's very high. All these little thunderstorms that pop up in the summer are able to tap into that and just drench a specific location. But with a sort of fast moving line like this, you don't really see that potential as much, except that it has slowed down a bit and there is some really heavy rain here. So some of those flood prone areas that you know about, great idea to avoid those through the next maybe 2 or 3 hours, because even after the rain ends, there could still be some water standing in certain locations. That is our South Shore spot, and we've been saying it's kind of interesting. Right around 5 p.m. we're expecting it for New Orleans, and it is showing up, but you might be in another part of the city, and the northern and western part is starting to see the rain, but you might still be waiting on it actually in much of Uptown, in the French Quarter, over toward Marigny and into St. Bernard, and actually a huge part of the West Bank. Still waiting for this line. So it's kind of gotten hung up a little bit, but at least it doesn't look like too much once it does move in and out that we will have to deal with. But this is the line of significant weather that we're seeing move in as we speak. Of course, the other spot, again, that I just wanted to highlight that I was pointing out earlier is this location around Lacombe, this part of St. Tammany Parish. Now including Slidell, the heaviest is just to the west of Slidell, but even other parts in the city will probably get in on this heavy part on the southern edge of what has prompted the warning, and that will be moving in probably within the next 10 or so minutes. So some really, really heavy rain and also some high wind gust potential, and that will be moving again towards Slidell and then eventually toward other spots like Picayune as we get into the next maybe half hour or so. So line is moving in, it will be moving out. We're still expecting it to be finished by about 7, 8 o'clock. This should be mostly out of here, but certainly a really active scene at this point. No tornado warnings, but just that one severe thunderstorm warning, as well as a flood advisory for the New Orleans metro area itself.
All right, Alexandra, thank you so much. We want to check back in real quick with Eleanor Tabone. She's in Kentwood in Tangipahoa Parish, and want to see what she's seeing there now. Eleanor, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me? Whitney, I want to show you, this is where we started. When we first got out here to Kentwood earlier this afternoon, the rain was pouring down, and this is the scene that we came to. Now, we spoke to the resident who lives here. He's been here, this is the resident I mentioned earlier that has been here since 1986. He has lived here all that time, and he said he's never experienced anything like we saw today. His house is completely destroyed. This is where you can see Troy will show you, that's where his truck was in there, in his shed. That shed, the siding is completely ripped off. The roof is completely ripped off and blown. You can see the tin that is now intertwined with the trees that are now on the ground. His house, Troy, if you can show them, he took us in his home earlier, and water was pouring in, completely pouring in. His house is completely slanted to one side. The back of the house was where his granddaughter lived with him. You would walk into a room, Whitney, and you could see the sky. The roof had blown off the back. There's a tree now laying on the backside of his house. Troy will show you this side. You can see all the trees that are completely snapped in half like we showed you earlier. But complete carnage from this storm. People are now out here. We can see some energy crews are out here looking at one power pole that's come down. But like I mentioned earlier, the residents that we have spoken to, they told us that they were just sitting there listening to their radios, listening to the news, and then all of a sudden they were hearing that they were in the line. They were in that path of that storm. And the man that we spoke to at this residence told us that all of a sudden he heard a noise, and so he looked outside, and the wind was so strong, Whitney, he said that he was blown from the front of his house to the back of his house. A grown man, that wind was so strong, it blew him. He said it blew him so hard that he ended up on his back and he couldn't move. He said the pressure in his home, it was just intense. He said his ears were hurting. So that's what he experienced out here in Kentwood. And so now the rain has thankfully subsided. It was torrential downpours for a long period of time out here. Now we've got some clear skies, the sun is out. But now people are out here, like I mentioned, the energy crews are out here looking and helping people. We're seeing roofing companies out here tarping people's homes. We're seeing people clearing the roadways. This roadway where Troy is showing you, this convenience store, was completely blocked off earlier when we came out here. Couldn't even pass it. They've thankfully been able to move the branches and limbs that were on the roadway. But I'll continue to have the details out here in Kentwood. My full story will be tonight at 10 o'clock. You'll see and hear from all the residents that we spoke to. One man we spoke to had just moved to Kentwood, Whitney, 5 days ago, and now this has happened. But I'll have that full story for you and our viewers tonight at 10 o'clock. Live in Kentwood, Eleanor Tabone, WWL, Louisiana.
Eleanor, thank you so much. Just 5 days ago, wow. If you have any photos, text us your pictures of your storm damage. We want to see that. The number is 504-529-4444. And thank you just so much for watching. You know, we're going to keep you posted if there are any more warnings. Obviously, we'll tune in and let you know about those warnings. But make sure that you are weather aware, and make sure you have WWL Plus, the app, downloaded so you can get any alerts or pushes of any storm information that you need to know. Thanks so much for watching.